Yondan is not about doing more, it's about doing fewer mistakes. This video is going to be my Kendo tips on preparing for your yondan exam and breaking down some of the guidelines and expectations for somebody taking yondan. First of all, I want to thank Kendo JJ for this comment, which motivated me to make this video for you guys. I want to make this video not only accessible for the people expecting to take yondan, but also for all ranks, because I feel that a lot of the things that are required to pass yondan should have been starting to be built from early on. I know some countries might have a little bit different guidelines of different ways of doing their test, but I always found very useful that in the All United States Kendo Federation website, you can find the questions that are done for the written exam and also some guidelines of what's needed for each rank. I always recommend that as a way to start kind of guiding you towards the right direction. What changes at yondan level? So for sandan, you're supposed to be someone that's capable. At sandan level, you should be able to get through every practice and you should always be able to get something back, again, with that little guidance. At yondan level, that is still expected, but now it should be more refined and more mature. The way to show that, I think, is with less wasted movement, less wasted attack. Especially for your test, you should have fewer meaningless attack, and every attack should have a purpose. You don't just attack from zero. There should be some type of initiation and then execution with commitment to your attack. Let's talk about daitotsu and distance. For your striking, you should be able to strike with the proper part of the shinai, especially when the opponent comes in close. That awareness of distance is very important. Also, where you're attacking from is very important. Especially attacking from very far is not really the problem, but attacking very far without showing pressure, without giving pressure to the opponent, is what starts becoming a little bit of a problem. When you have that approach, a lot of times Jigeiko starts looking a lot like Kakari Geikos, right? It's like a bunch of just attack, 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 and it's kind of like a gamble which one you actually land. So you should start looking for more pressure and attack. At yondan level, distance is not only about having the correct distance to attack so you don't look sloppy, it's also about using that distance to create an opportunity. There's two main criteria that you should show at yondan level. First one is recognizing opportunities to attack. So not always because of you, the opponent is going to give a reaction. Sometimes maybe they get overwhelmed, they step at the wrong place. If those opportunities are there, you should be able, you should be ready. Your command should be ready. Your body should be ready to come in and take advantage of that opportunity. But also you should start showing that you can also create opportunities. And we do that with distance. As you approach your opponent, you start building on that tension and you start creating the opportunities by controlling the center, being able to close the distance and making them nervous. All of these things in combination help you create that opportunity, and you should be able to show that in your test. You want to show that initiative and you want to show that pressure and not just show that you're just waiting for a technique. Another important point, of course, is to show your stability, and in order to have a good attack, whether it's far or short, is to make that attack come from your lower body. So your feet, your hips, initiate the motion and initiate the attack into the strike. Avoid just being reactive and just throwing your arms forward before anything moves, because that makes you lose balance, makes you look less skilled. And one of the biggest things that I feel that I've been working on for a while, and I recommend you to work this for yondan level, is that if you miss a technique, your body, everything should look as if you scored. Your sanshin going through and then coming back into kamae all should look like you had an ippon. You want to avoid just kind of, oh, I'm gonna miss or I miss, and then like changing your posture and just like getting all sloppy. Everything should look the same. You should be smooth on going through and then keeping attention towards your opponent. Don't collapse. Don't rush forward into an attack, and maintain and come back to kamae immediately after your opportunity pass, after your moment pass. Now let's talk about seme and your shinai. I talk about that you want to give pressure to the opponent and you use your distance and your shinai and your body, everything you have, you use it to create that pressure. But when it comes to using their shinai, the biggest mistake that people end up doing is that they use the right hand to push the tip or to push the shinai out of the way. And instead of that, you should be using the left hand. When you're trying to take the center, you want to avoid just pushing the shinai out and then you also losing the center. The way it was explained to me, the way I like to think about it, is that instead of pushing to the side, you're kind of cutting into the shinai, making it so the tip of your opponent goes to the side, but yours stays in the center. This is going to help you, especially when you start transitioning into ojiwasa, because when you react, your shinai is already ready to go forward. Your kamae, for lack of better words, should feel alive, where it can adapt to whatever the opponent is doing without you tensing up your upper body. You should have stability, and you should be able to keep strong center with your left hand, and the left hand should be controlling your shinai so you can move it around and adapt to what's happening, but don't pull the tip out of the center. If you're semi-real, if you really have an intention to attack your opponent, you don't have to chase the opportunities. The opportunities will start showing up because the other person is going to feel that pressure, is going to feel that they need to do something, and that's normally when they're reacting is when it makes them make mistakes. Regardless of what level of Kendo you're in, I feel that this is something very important to keep in mind, and it's how your upper body is as you're approaching your opponent. I noticed that on myself a lot, is that as you start closing the opponent and the tension starts building up, maybe my hands will tense up, my shoulders will tense up, my elbows will tense up. You want to keep this relaxed, being able to move and act at the moment instead of having to like relax and attack, or even worse, because of the tension, doing the motions incorrectly. Now this takes me up to the tenouchi, which is the fact that you want to relax your hands before and after the strike. You want to have the tenouchi at the moment of impact and then be able to relax it, so that way if you need it, you can go again. This is very useful when you're doing rensokuwasa like kotemen or even like suriage-men. For ojiwasa, this is extremely important. Talking about ojiwasa, a lot of times people say that for testing you should avoid this, or you should do this. First of all, it's not black and white. You have to show your Kendo in your test, and when it comes to techniques, when people say to avoid or to do something or to show something, I feel that it's just because you're trying to show specific concepts or avoid specific problems. What ends up happening with a lot of the ojiwasa is that people are always waiting, so to the judges, it can look a lot like you're just reacting rather than acting. Your ojiwasa should look the same as your shikakewasa. So the opponent should attack you and because of you, and you should act accordingly to the attack that came because of you. Doing things like kaeshido and you're standing there waiting for the man, maybe protecting the kote, waiting for the man, so then you can do the kaeshido, is different than if you approach the distance, the opponent scare comes in for men and you immediately do your kaeshido. That's a different approach and different way of putting it. The one thing that I'll normally say to stay away from is hikiwasa, because a lot of times hikiwasa ends up being from an opportunity that was there rather than your semi, your pressure. Of course, like as I said, it's not black and white, but overall doing things like kaeshido, suriage, all of these things can be good if it's not something that you're just waiting for it to happen, waiting for you to do it. The main thing that you have to keep in mind is that if someone is going to attack you, you should respond with confidence. This is, I feel like, a big point for yondan, showing your confidence even when you're being challenged by your opponent. So one of the biggest tips that I was getting before my yondan exam was the banamen. This is a good way, I feel like this is a good tool for training, but also it's a great way to show that you're coming in with confidence, and regardless that the opponent is coming in for men, you're going to challenge that man. But again, it's not about waiting for the men to come in, it's about you creating the opportunity by putting pressure forward and then executing your technique. Now, zanshin. Zanshin, it's one of the things that I feel that I get the most comments about and people have like a lot of discrepancy about. Zanshin, it has to show awareness of your opponent. So for example, that exaggerated zanshin where people just go on after an attack and then turn around, that kind of shows lack of attention for the opponent, right? Your zanshin should be natural. You should go through and show that you have power in your body, you have power on your attacks, and it should be the necessary for you to go through and then turn it around and immediately be ready for another technique. A great tool for practicing this is going to be doing, for example, 3 mens in a row without rushing and doing 1 kiai. Zanshin again should be natural. You should be able to go through with power. Sometimes it happens where you end up crashing and then do a tai-atari. Immediately after you do that, come back into kamae, but that tension, don't lose it midway. Keep that tension from one attack into the next. Especially for your test, you have very little time to show your kendo. So taking that moment to kind of relax after you did an attack is going to hurt you more than it's going to help you in your test. Maybe this is something that I feel not often we talk about, but at yondan level specifically and so on, that transition moments, those transition moments are very important. You want to show your purpose in the court for the whole time that you're doing your test, and the transitions are a very important point, especially if you want to start moving up at higher levels. But if you're finding any of this useful or any questions, whatever, please let me know down in the comments below. It really helps me know how you're feeling about these videos and what can I do better, okay? Kiken Tai Chi is going to help you have energy in your strikes without putting extra effort. In a way, your kendo should be strong, but at the same time relaxed. You want to avoid, you start in the motion with the upper body, you move the body in first, you then engage the arms, and when you strike, the movement of the body, the movement of the sword, and your energy should all connect into one to give you a good impact and good stability and good control to be able to go forward and either attack again or return back into kamae and re-engage. It's very important to understand that at yondan level, you have to show that connection between your sword and your body, because if your body starts coming in late, most likely your attack is going to be soft. So instead of that, you want to be able to learn and understand how to create force without effort. Hope that makes sense. Again, let me know down in the comments if you want me to go deeper into that. Another point that I feel that it needs to be talked about, and maybe I don't hear it often, it's your presence. When you come in for Sonkyo, you want to make sure that you go down into Sonkyo firmly and you come back up sharply without being rushed. And your posture should always be showing in your Sonkyo, in your kamae, and in your attacks. Posture has a real big impact on your kendo. You don't need new equipment to do your test, but at the very least, your equipment should look good. So your uniform should be clean. If you have your bogu that you have a lot of sweat marks, it will be good to clean it. A lot of times people re-dye them and fix them up a little bit so it looks better. This, believe it or not, makes a big impact, especially when your partner is not paying attention to those details. The uniform, how you wear it, the himo is very important. How you wear your bogu, how you wear your uniform, it's very important to keep in mind and do it correctly. If your character doesn't change, your rank won't change either. I feel that a lot of times you can understand when somebody's lower rank and higher rank just by looking at them even before you get to practice, even before the whole Ashinai. When it comes to the mental aspect of things, you want to show the mental state, especially against challenge. You want to be confident without being arrogant, calm under pressure. You're not trying to impress, you're not forcing techniques, and you're accepting your mistakes. Mistakes will happen, but what you do after those mistakes is very important. You want to make sure that if you make a mistake, just let it go and just focus on the moment right in front of you. Because the panel is not looking for someone to show off, they're looking for that maturity, they're looking for someone stable. Yondan is not about becoming more athletic, it's about becoming more refined. That refinement is going to give you the opportunity and give you the tools to do more things in your kendo. Especially when doing things like closing in the distance, which by the way, I made this video right here talking about approaching your opponent, but let me know, what is your concern, your biggest concern when it comes to testing? What are you struggling with in order to move up to the next rank? Let me know down in the comments. Please, if you haven't, hit the like button, and thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.